And we are live. We are on the air. This is Brews and Bets. I don't know about you guys, but my wife was a little pissed off at me, so I got a little whiskey. Ty, isn't this keto?
Yeah, whiskey falls in. Are you
Yeah.
on it?
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Somewhat. Yeah, I'm on keto. So I got a little Jack Daniels Sinatra. It's a little limited edition. It's my favorite, so I said screw it. I'm going for that. But we have a special guest here, CG. Welcome back, buddy. How's everything going?
Things are going pretty good. Glad that I'm able to get back on and chat with you guys. It's been a couple crazy weeks here, so yeah, glad to talk some fights.
Before we get into this, Ty doesn't have a lot of time. He's actually going to the fights this weekend, so he's got some things he needs to do tomorrow. CG, the last time you were on, you won a decent amount of your bets, right? I remember you telling me, and then we haven't seen you on in a few weeks.
Yeah, no, I did very well. I won I think I played 4 parlays. I hit on 3 of them. So yeah, I had a nice return. I made a bet with a buddy from work. So the only thing that sucks is I had to cash out and give him his cut. But and it's a pain in the ass to withdraw money from 5 dimes, by the way. Jesus Christ.
The good thing, yeah, the good thing for me is I'm in Jersey, so it's legal here. So we can use FanDuel, we can use DraftKings. I actually use like 5 different sites. I actually have a PointsBet right here. Just sent me my cash, so I've been doing real well with MMA. But let's get right into this. I want to start with the Johnny Walker Misha Serkinov fight. I have a strong take here. CJ, Ty and I talked about it. We just did our Quant Edge podcast, so I'll throw it right to you. What do you think about this fight, Johnny Walker Misha Serkinov, and then we'll work our way up.
So bottom line up front, I like Serkinov in this fight. I know Johnny Walker is a beast. He's been destroying people. But still, I mean, this is the guy that, before he knocked out Roundtree and Ledet, he went the distance with Frankenstein, right? So, correct. I mean, he keeps on burning me. I keep on betting against him, and I'm paying for it. And I know Serkinov doesn't give me many reasons to trust him, after the phantom knockout against Ozdemir. I think it's a little bit risky, but I mean, his ground game has never been tested. What happens if Serkinov gets him to the ground? I think there's a high likelihood that Serkinov can pass, work a submission, and I'm not on the Johnny Walker bandwagon just yet. If he beats Serkinov, I will be.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement. Ty, what do you think here?
Yeah, so it's kind of like I was telling you earlier. I think this goes one of 2 ways. Either Walker's going to knock out Serkinov. Serkinov doesn't have the greatest chin. Or Serkinov is going to get him in the clinch, get him down, and test his ground game. So I think this is going to be a finish in the first round either way. Either Walker's going to win a knockout or Serkinov's going to win submission. And I don't really love the line on Walker's knockout because I think that's – realistically, I think that's how everybody thinks it's going to go if Walker wins. But there is some value on Serkinov to win by submission at plus 225, and because I think that's the only way he's going to win if it goes that way.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to go Serkinov wins inside the distance, and I'm going to play – I already actually played it at plus 140, and now it's plus 165. So I think I'm going to play Serkinov inside the distance plus 165. And I do want to parlay it. I actually said to Ty earlier, I want to parlay it with Cody Garbrandt, but we can get to that fight when we get there. But I think we're all in agreement. We all like Serkinov here. Let's get to this next fight. Ty, I'll throw this one to you first. My boy Zabit, he trains in Jersey with the Jersey, the Goodfellas in Jersey, Frankie Edgar and all those guys against Jeremy Stevens. You got to pay a heavy price, minus 250. But any bets you like here with this fight?
It's kind of hard to say because I think that Zabit's going to get Stevens down and control him. But like I was telling you earlier, I think that Stevens is dangerous with his knees and uppercuts when facing the takedown. So, I don't really love the line at where it's at right now, minus 250 on Zabit. I think he's going to win, but it's kind of high risk because Stevens is in the fight until the last second. And, I'm kind of thinking that Zabit wins a decision, but, I'm just not confident enough to play anybody in this spot.
CG, what do you think? Are you on the Zabit bandwagon here?
Zabit is an amazing prospect. Actually, he's more than a prospect now. But I'm with Ty on this one. I don't trust this fight. Jeremy Stevens is a nasty motherfucker. He's got those leg kicks, a lot of power in his hands, and just a lot of brutal knockouts on his record. So I keep on going back to the Bochniak Zabit fight, and for the most part, Zabit dominated the fight. But in the third round, Bochniak was landing on him. If Stevens lands on Zabit, Zabit could go to sleep. So to me, it's just a little too risky. A lot of people keep on saying, "Oh, Zabit had a broken hand." That has nothing to do with his poor striking defense. So to be honest, I just want to sit this one out from a betting perspective and even DraftKings as well. I think Zabit probably wins by decision. I don't think he's going to put Stevens away, but I don't feel comfortable betting this. I think Jeremy Stevens is by far the toughest opponent that Zabit has ever faced.
And again, you can get plus money on that. Zabit wins by decision is plus 144 if you did want to make a late play on that. But I do like Zabit here. I think Jeremy Stevens has a puncher's chance, but I think for the most part, Zabit is going to be able to use his length, use his kick game, and use his takedowns to just kind of grind Jeremy Stevens out. The thing with Jeremy Stevens is he's in terms of his power, obviously his power's there. We all saw what he did to Josh Emmett, although there was a little bit of an illegal, some illegal stuff going on there. But Stevens only loses to studs, right? Aldo, Moicano, Edgar, Holloway. He's only really losing to studs more recently. Trains at a great gym I believe he's still at Alliance. But Zabit's my Jersey guy, so I'm going with Zabit. Ty, I'm gonna throw it to you again because I know Cody Garbrandt's your boy. CG, you can get yourself ready for Tisha Torres. I know you have a strong play in that one. So Tyler, go ahead. Tell us about Cody Garbrandt. Are there any plays here that you like?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be betting pretty heavily when I go to Vegas on Cody. And it may seem like a bias because he is my favorite fighter. But if you look back at his performances, his UFC career before the Dillashaw fight, he fought aggressive fighters that were not counter strikers. He sat back, he picked them apart. Even Dominic Cruz, who's not really super aggressive, he just has a lot of movement and he darts in and out and tries to make stuff happen. Whereas Dillashaw took the approach where he was just going to counter strike and force Cody into the first move. In this fight, Pedro Munoz is not a counter striker. He's an aggressive fighter that doesn't mind trading. He averages 5 strikes per minute and gets hit with 5 strikes per minute. He's going to be in Cody's face, and this is the type of fight that Cody thrives off of. He's going to dance around, pick him apart, and I think he's going to knock him out. Personally, I'm just gonna play him straight up at minus 165. I think that has enough value that I don't need to go any further than that.
Yeah, CG, it does have value, but I'm gonna risk it. I think I'm going Garbrandt, and I'm gonna parlay that with Serkinov inside the distance. CG, you in agreement with us on Garbrandt, or do you like Munoz here?
I like Garbrandt, but I don't like him inside the distance. Pedro Munoz has never been finished. Super tough guy. And, Garbrandt got knocked out in his last 2 fights. He's a fantastic fighter, some of the best hand speed in the division. But I just want to see him bounce back before I can have any, real confidence in him. I think that he probably wins a striking-based decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's a little bit cautious in this fight.
And again, what I had mentioned on the Quan Edge, and I'll share it here. But if you watch Pedro Munoz, his leg kicks are pretty nasty too. What he was able to do to Brett Johns,
yeah.
He had him wobbled. And Brett Johns is a big power guy, right? He was known as a big hitter, although he's lost. I think he had 2. That was his second loss in a row with that one. I know he lost to Aljamain Sterling also. At UFC Atlantic City. But for the most part, Pedro Munoz had his way with the leg kicks, put him on one leg. And again, he couldn't finish him, which is the other point that I made. So for the most part, I do like Garbrandt. I'm not calling for the finish, but if you did want to risk it a little bit, Garbrandt wins inside the distance is plus 140. Garbrandt by KO, TKO is plus 155. If you did think that he was going to get his knockout. I think he does have 11 wins, 9 are by KO TKO. I'm pretty sure that's the number on Garbrandt. And doesn't he have something crazy like 9 knockdowns in his 8 fights or something like that in the UFC?
I'm not sure. I know he has a lot of them.
I think he had 3 or 4 knockdowns against Cruz.
Yeah, that's true. That's true too.
And he knocked TJ down in the first fight.
He did knock him down there. Yeah. All right, so CJ, you're up, buddy. Tecia Torres and Willie Zhang. I know how Ty feels about this, and we're kind of in agreement. We just don't really know how good Willie Zhang is. Do you have any read on either one of these girls for this fight? This is more or less a pick 'em right now.
Yeah, tough fight to break down. I favor Zhang slightly just for the volume, 6.5 strikes per minute. She fights with reckless abandon. But then again, Tecia Torres only loses to the best of the best. Jessica Andrade, Jędrzejczyk. So, and then, I mean, obviously, this is going to be the stiffest competition that Zhang's ever faced. So, yeah, tough fight. I'm staying away from it from a betting perspective, but gun to my head, I would go with Zhang just for the volume and the fact that she's not afraid to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I think Zhang by KO TKO is a legit possibility.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, I mean, call it a hot take if you want, but she is
I would say that's a hot take, yeah.
She is very strong, and we all know Tecia Torres is going to get in the pocket and exchange. So I did say it on the Quan Edge. I'm giving away some of the goods, but Ty, I'll go right to you. What do you think here?
So I think that these girls are pretty similar fighters. I think that you nailed it with Zhang being the stronger of the two, but I think that they're both high volume and they're both technical, so it's going to be a fun fight on the feet. The one edge that I do see Zhang having is Tecia is known for having pretty bad takedown defense. Zhang, even though it's not really proven on a wide scale, she has decent wrestling, and so I think that if it's not going her way on the feet, or if she's wants to steal rounds late, she could potentially get that takedown at the end of the rounds and sway the judges her way. But one thing that I found interesting is the fight going to decision is minus 300 right now. But if you look down at their individual odds, Torres to win by decision is plus 135 and Zhang is plus 184. So you're actually getting value on her to win by decision, which I don't think is a terrible bet because she's actually the favorite right now, but you're getting her at an underdog price to win by decision, which I think that's how she's going to win.
That is weird. That bet has to be off.
Yeah, I just looked it up right now. It could be off, but if the value's there, you might as well put a play on it.
But by the same token, again, it could be the whiskey talking, but I think that Zhang wins by KO TKO at plus 600. So that's going to be my official play here.
I saw Tecia Torres fight live in Detroit, and she beat Karate Hottie. Tecia Torres is pretty strong too. I mean, Zhang might have the strength advantage, but Torres has never been finished. She's really tough. And look at her losses: Jędrzejczyk, Andrade, and Rose.
Yeah,
only loses to the best of the best. So we shall see.
And she's a pretty awesome person if you meet her in person also. So I kind of always cheer for her a little bit because she was one of the nicer people I met at Fan Expo.
Yeah, and again, you'll be there this weekend, Ty. So by all means, if there's any inside info. All right, Ben Askren and Robbie Lawler. Ty, I'll go right back to you. I'm a big fan of Ben Askren in this fight. I think his wrestling is going to prevail. I think he's going to be successful with that. Lawler, I think, has a very small window to land something with that left hand. But other than that, I mean, Askren's going to be in his kitchen, pushing him up against the cage and taking him down. So Ty, what do you think here?
Yeah, so I think Askren's going to dominate this fight. Lawler has pretty bad takedown defense. He has generally over the course of his career, and this is the best wrestler that he's faced. And I see some sites right now even have it as low as minus 245, which I think that if you could get it at that, load up on Askren, put him in parlays. I see that right now by decision is minus 145, but I'm not convinced that Askren wins by decision. I think that he could submit him, which I'm not confident enough to play the submission, but I'm gonna have him in a lot of parlays.
CG, what do you think? I hear some noises in the background. I don't know if you agree, disagree.
Is that the baby crying? Sorry about that.
No, I thought it was you.
No. I'm just looking at the lines right now. My fucking baby is crying. Askren inside the distance plus 425. No, I'm in agreement. I think Askren rolls in this spot. Robbie Lawler has not looked the same ever since he lost the belt to Woodley. I mean, he squeaked by Cerrone, but I'm not completely sure he won that fight. And then against Dos Anjos, he just looked injured. He looked beat up. I mean, the guy's had so many fucking wars, So I think Askren takes him down. I think he could get the finish, or knowing Askren, he might just want to play it safe in his UFC debut. But plus 425 inside the distance is very enticing. So I don't know, might be a good bet.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to throw a half a unit or something on that, that's definitely a play. I like what you said. I actually brought this point up on the Quan Edge podcast. Robbie Lawler's taken a lot of damage. You know what I mean? He's got 40 UFC fights, and that fight with Rafael dos Santos was a 5-round brawl.
Yeah.
So again, he did take off all of 2018. He didn't fight for the whole year. Neither did Ben Askren. But as Ben Askren said on the Joe Rogan podcast, when Joe Rogan had him on as a guest, he said, Joe, I fought 3 times in 2017. I didn't take a significant strike. So the guy just doesn't get hit because he kind of stays out of range. He'll throw a shot or two, and once he gets in on you, I mean, I know the level of competition was not as good over at One Championship, but I mean, you don't get a strike on him because he puts you on his back, and his wrestling is just legit. So I think he's gonna be pumped up. Him and Tyron Woodley are in back-to-back fights here. They were both there was a nice article on ESPN about them being from Missouri, the same wrestling team, kind of pushing each other and everything like that. So I think we're gonna see a very subdued Ben Askren. I kind of agree with Ty. I think he's gonna just play it safe, ride out a 3-round decision if he has to. I mean, if the possibility to finish presents itself, obviously he's going to take advantage of that. But I think for the most part, he's gonna really solidify a win here. So I like Askren. You can throw him in parlays at minus 300. I think it was like minus 250 earlier today. Even no, did that go up? I'm not sure. You guys obviously don't care. You're not drinking whiskey like me. All right, so let's go. Let's go to the next fight. CJ, I'll throw this one back to you because I know Ty wants to talk about John Jones. So CJ, Tyron Woodley and Kamaru Usman. Who do you think prevails here? And basically, how does Usman come out in this fight? Is he going to come after him and try to strike with him, or is he going to go right for his takedowns and try to wear out Woodley? What do you think?
So I was just talking about this on Twitter today. Tyron Woodley has taken more money from me than Uncle Sam and Dan Kelly. I always bet against Tyron Woodley. I always lose. But, I mean, you look at the guy. I mean, 2.6 strikes per minute, 1.3 takedowns. He doesn't do a lot. But then again, he's very cerebral. He's very methodical. He's a very smart fighter, great fight IQ. And that right hand is lightning fast. I'll get right to the point here. I like Kamaru Usman. I think Usman's a different type of fighter. 4.5 takedowns per 15 minutes, 4 strikes per minute. His gas tank is impressive. That pace that he had against Dos Anjos was just mind-boggling. And it's tough for me to bet on somebody like Woodley when there's no – I mean, I guess there is numbers to back up his performances. I mean, he wins. That's it. But when you look at his fight metrics, they're terrible. And I think Usman's going to put a pace on Woodley that Woodley hasn't seen. Those fights against Wonderboy, I wanted to scratch my goddamn eyes out. They were so boring. He beat Till. Fantastic. Set the blueprint on how to beat Demian Maia. Okay, whatever. Then, Maia lost his last he won his last fight, but before that he was on a 3-fight losing streak. But right. I mean, I think Usman is a nightmare matchup for Woodley, and I think Usman prevails. And it just seems like Woodley has too much other shit going on in his personal life. He's a rapper. He's acting. I mean, Usman is all in. I think Usman prevails. The one thing that does concern me about Usman, his striking defense was piss poor against Demian Maia. There were times in that fight where he was literally getting outboxed by Demian Maia. I guess Maia did that to Colby Covington too, but Usman needs to watch his striking defense against Woodley, and if he does, I think he will be the new welterweight champion of the world, and I think he will hold the belt for a very long time.
So CG, what aspect of the fight besides pace do you think that Usman is better?
I think the wrestling will be nullified, and I mean, I think he's got the striking advantage in terms of output and volume. I mean, Woodley has the right hand, but what if he doesn't land that right hand? Then he's going to lose a striking-based decision. I just don't think Woodley does enough. And, you know, Woodley was on UFC Embedded. He was talking about how he's a D1 All-American. Usman was only a D2 All-American. But we have to remember, this isn't wrestling. This is MMA. MMA wrestling is different than collegiate wrestling, because in MMA, you can set up your takedowns with strikes. The pace that Usman fights at is just incredible. I mean, he sets a hard pace in round one, and it's sustainable up until the end of round 5. He put up, I know we don't like talking about DraftKings on the show, he put up like 180 DraftKings points on Dos Anjos. I mean, the guy doesn't stop. He's relentless. So it's not going to be like his fights against Wonder Boy, where he can just walk around the cage and, you know, throw one punch every, 30 seconds. You know what I mean? I mean, Usman is going to make him fight. Nobody has ever made him do that. I mean, even his last fight against Darren Till, that first round was so goddamn boring. I don't know if he is fully ready for Usman and the style that he's going to bring on Saturday.
Yeah, see, I'm in pretty much disagreement with that, because I think that Usman is inferior in every aspect of the fight. I think that Woodley is the faster boxer. He's the more powerful striker, and I think that he's far superior in wrestling. I don't even think it's close with that. But, I mean, I could be wrong come Saturday night, but so far from what I've seen is Usman has only been able to execute his game plan versus non-wrestlers pretty much.
The thing about Woodley, though, I agree with you. The striking power is definitely on his side. I mean, that right hand is ridiculous. It's a goddamn jackhammer, but he doesn't even really box. I mean, he just throws a punch every now and again. He doesn't really throw combinations.
Yeah. So, and I think that a lot of the fights that he kind of gets that notoriety from is like versus Demian Maia. He didn't want to engage with Maia because Maia's only chance was to get him down. Right. So he was trying to stay out on the outside and pick his spots. Versus Wonder Boy, the first one, it was a terrible game plan, but Wonder Boy is a counter striker. And so I think that he overthinks a lot of his opponents and doesn't want to get in their comfort zone. Whereas I think with Usman, I don't know if he has to worry about that, because I don't think that there's much fear of a knockout. And at the same time, Usman's going to be wanting to take him down, whereas Woodley, I think, feels that he's the better wrestler. So I don't know if that hesitancy is going to be there.
How do you think Woodley wins?
I think he's going to knock him out. Just because I think, like you said, the wrestling's going to negate itself. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to negate itself in the fact that Usman's going to want to get it down. Woodley's going to stop the takedowns, and he's gonna load up for the big shots. And like if you look, I think that this either has one of two ways. He's going to knock him down, or he's going to fight kind of like he did in the Gastelum fight, which is kind of ugly, but it's effective. I don't really think that Usman's that much of a threat in this one.
Do you guys think Usman's going to use more than 30% in this fight? I had to bring some comments to that. Just so if anyone doesn't know, against Emil Meek after the fight, Usman basically said that was 30% of his fighting. And that was also a fight where he didn't want to strike with Emil Meek either, by the way.
Yeah. I love the guy. I think he's a great fighter. I don't know.
No, I do too, but I think exactly what you said, CG, is his path. And if he doesn't get that exact fight, he can't beat Tyron Woodley. He needs to basically exhaust him, push him against the cage, take him down, wear him down. If there's any point where this becomes a striking fight, I think Woodley's going to drop him.
So the difference between this fight and the Demian Maia fight is Demian Maia was trying to take Woodley down without even setting up the takedowns with strikes, just because Demian Maia doesn't have much of a gas tank. I think Usman can go for takedowns. Woodley might be able to stuff him rounds 1 and 2, but What about rounds 3, 4, and 5? I don't think that Woodley's cardio has ever been tested that much. Usman is really going to test it.
No, I agree.
We will see.
That's Usman's path, 100%.
I think he has more paths. I think he can win a striking-based decision, and he might be able to land some takedowns. We don't know. I feel like Woodley's only path is a knockout.
CJ, I'm gonna be very honest with you right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Usman wants to strike with Tyron Woodley. So I don't think that's a path because again, if you watch the Emil Meek fight, he didn't want to strike with Meek. I know he had the ground advantage, but he didn't want to strike with Meek. And again, Demian Maia kind of pieced him up a little bit at certain times in that fight. What is Tyron Woodley with that piston of a right hand, that hand speed and that power? I mean, you saw what he did to Darren Till. That was pretty impressive. I think Usman has one path, and it's to tire Woodley out.
And we were talking about I think it was Jeremy Stevens' knockdown, or no, Cody's knockdowns. Correct. Woodley has 10 knockdowns in his UFC career, and I know it doesn't appear like he knows what he's doing with boxing at a high level, but I think it's enough with Usman to set up that big power shot and put him out.
I think that if you like the narrative game at all, a big narrative here too is that Usman had to talk himself into this fight. Obviously, Tyron Woodley's the champ. He's going to get whoever's ready to get this fight. But Usman had to get himself over the top by getting in front of Colby Covington and getting in front of other guys and winning fights. But he had to really talk the talk. Is he really going to come out and try to strike with Tyron Woodley? I think that would be a huge mistake, just in my opinion. But Ty, let's finish this off with the John Jones. He's down to minus 800. Actually, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Tyron Woodley's down to minus 145. I think it was minus 170 or 175 earlier today. So if you like Tyron, I don't know if it's going to get much lower than that. But
I actually think that the Woodley fight's going to get a little bit lower because what I've noticed with Woodley fights is since he is known for having such boring fights, a lot of the public doesn't back him.
Wow.
Well, basically what you're saying is since Dana White hates him, the public hates him also.
Yeah, you could say that, I guess. But I actually think that you might get around 140, maybe a little bit lower on Woodley. I think it might drop a little bit more.
Wow, as of Monday, he was minus 200. Yeah. Earlier today, he was minus 170. Wow. Yeah,
minus 170 this morning when I was doing the rest of my on edge, info. Maybe a parlay piece, maybe a straight up bet. But Ty, go ahead. Tell us how John Jones wins.
Yeah, so I really don't think Anthony Smith is that good of a fighter. I think that he's getting a lot of his excitement around him. I think he actually got into this fight because his last few fights were on TV, non-pay-per-view fights. Public got to see him get 2 knockdowns and a come from behind submission. With this fight, I just think that he's not even close to on the same level as John Jones. The only reason this fight is happening is because Jones has nobody else to fight. Up until last week, now he has Thiago Santos. But in reality, Anthony Smith is just going to be looking for a big punch for a knockout. He's not going to get it. John Jones is far superior in skill level, in technique, and I think in fight IQ. I don't think that Jones is even going to mess around on the feet. He might engage in some brief striking for the first 20 seconds or so, and I think he's going to just shoot a takedown and just smash Smith on the ground. And I really don't think this one's leaving the first round.
So CG, what do you think about putting like $1,000 on Jones wins by TKO KO at plus 110, and then put $1,000 on Jones wins by submission plus 145? And just guarantee yourself some money.
I like the way you think. You're a math teacher. You know all this shit. No, I like it, honestly. I mean, yeah. So I don't think Anthony Smith is a bad fighter. I think he's really tough. I think he's got good cardio. The guy's a warrior. You watch that fight with Hector Lombard. I felt like Lombard was attacking the legs. I thought Lombard was going to finish that fight, and Anthony Smith is like that gnat that doesn't go away. You know, he has power, and the fact that he was able to beat Ozdemir by submission, 3rd round, he had to overcome a lot of adversity in that fight. I think he's a tough guy. I really don't feel like he's intimidated. Like you're talking about on the UFC Countdown show, like Bones beats a lot of fighters before they even get into the octagon. I really don't think that Anthony Smith is afraid. I think he realizes that this might be his only chance to fight for the belt. I think he's going to go in there with reckless abandon, you know, just throw a bunch of bombs. I don't think he's going to connect, but I think it's kind of a dangerous fight. I really do. Jones is going to win, I'm sure, but I don't know. I just kind of have a bad feeling about this fight. I don't know. But yeah, I like those odds, Steve. You said 140 was win by TKO?
110 is by KO TKO plus 145 for the submission, which is what Ty does like, right?
Yeah.
I like him to win by submission, but I also like the under 1.5 rounds at plus 125.
Oh
yeah, I do like that too.
I don't like that line.
No,
I don't like that line. I think so.
I think it may depend on Anthony Smith. I think he needs to kind of go out on the sword in this fight.
Yeah.
You know, the talk with Jones when he was coming back for the Gustafsson fight was that he's been working on his jiu-jitsu a lot. That fight wasn't the fight to showcase it. This fight, I think 100% is, because he's, even before he was training jiu-jitsu heavily, he would still be far better than Anthony Smith on the ground. So this could kind of be a showcase fight for that. And because he's going to want to get it to the ground, because Smith offers 0 on the ground and Smith doesn't have good takedown defense. So if Jones wants to come out and get it straight to the ground, he could either work the elbows, put him out of there right away, or if he wants to showcase his jiu-jitsu, it's up to him really. And I think that he's going to finish him really, really easily.
I think it's going to be Jones. Again, I think a lot of it's going to have to do with how Anthony Smith wants to fight. Anthony Smith, again, in his last fight, tried to wear out his opponent, and that's why he was able to last a few rounds and was able to tire him out and beat Vulcan. I think it was late round 3, right, is when he was able to get the finish.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, John Jones' gas tank, there's not going to be an issue with his gas tank. So I think Anthony Smith is going to have to kind of go out on his sword here and try to get something down early in the first or the second. So the 1.5 round, I think it's basically a 50-50 prop at that point, because I think Jones can kind of finish the fight whenever he wants to. I do agree with Ty. If he gets it to the ground, he's got a clear advantage. If Anthony Smith keeps it on the feet, I think that's the only way Anthony Smith can kind of land a punch that may do something. But by the same token, CG, nobody's landed a punch on John Jones in 21, 22 fights. So I don't see Anthony Smith doing it.
And then just some narrative also. So I had heard that he was supposed to have the Brock Lesnar fight with Brock Lesnar and Cormier. And then Roman Reigns had gotten cancer, so WWE needed Brock. Roman Reigns came back last night, so I don't know if he's back permanently. Or on Monday night, I don't know if he's back permanently, but now I can see Jones trying to get done with this fight as fast as possible, call Cormier out for that heavyweight title fight to set up a big money fight with Brock.
That's quite the narrative. So somebody who doesn't like narratives, that's quite the narrative.
I don't like narratives, but I mean, when big money's on the line, I mean, you know, John Jones, he's about his big money fights, and there's none left in the light heavyweight division. So if he can get this out of there quickly, I mean, I could see that definitely happening, and that's 2 big money fights lined up back to back.
All right, so CG, you started,
and he won't have to fight Santos.
Well, and that's what I was just actually going to throw that to CG, but CG, you were about to say something. What were you about to say?
What was that last statistic you threw out about John Jones? He didn't receive. He wasn't.
I mean, he hasn't been knocked out in 2021 fights. So why are we thinking Anthony Smith is going to be able to knock him out? And again, if he knocks him out, it's going to be within rounds 1 or 2.
Yeah, I just feel like his last fight against Gus gave him way too much space. I mean, Gus didn't pull the trigger at all. He just gave Bones room to work the body, work the legs. Anthony Smith isn't going to give him that room. He's going to try to close the distance, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But I don't know. I don't see the fight ending within the first 2 rounds.
CG, I agree with what you said.
Yeah.
But the reason I agree is because I think that Gus knows what happened that first fight, and that's why he tried to fight that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He tried to change it up. Again, when you're in the ring and you're feeling those punches, you're feeling that speed, there's got to be times where you're doubting yourself, like, wow, this guy's fast. This came out fast. This came out, you know what I mean? This hurt more than I thought it did.
I actually disagree with that because I don't think it was Gus that changed his fight. I think Jones did, because he had problems when in the dirty boxing area of the first fight. So I think he knew that he needed to stay outside versus Gus, and I think that he's seen that was the one part of the fight that he was weakest at.
Right.
So if he kept his distance and kept it at his range, Gus couldn't execute his game plan. So if this fight happens and Anthony Smith tries to close the distance, I expect Jones to just either clinch him up and trip takedown, or just shoot in for the takedown right away.
And I think he's going to try to do something early. It's going to be first or second round. Anthony Smith going out on a sword first or second round. He's going to make a play for that. He knows he can't last 5 rounds. I think again, he gassed against Vulcan by round 3. He got lucky to get that finish.
Yeah, I think the difference maker in the Jones-Gus fight too is the leg kicks. You know, Gus at the end of the second round couldn't even walk. So that's if he starts, digging the legs early in the fight, then Smith's not going to have a base. The takedown's going to be there. Man, for as big of a fucking moron as Jones is outside of the cage, he has an excellent fight IQ. I mean, that game plan against Gustafsson was just systematic destruction. Work the legs, work the body, found his opening in round 3, took the takedown, advanced. I mean, that was just picture perfect.
Yes. So when I won the DraftKings VIP thing, when I went down and talked to him, like, we just sat around and talked fighting for 2 hours, and he broke down pretty much everybody at the time, like how he would beat them and just different styles. And it was kind of interesting to hear, because like he was on another level with it, and the stuff that I didn't even see, like he was just picking up on it. And so I think that he has a perfect game plan for Anthony Smith, and I don't think he has to really worry about anything other than the big punch.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I agree. All right, guys. I guess we're done with Brews and bets. I got to put some of these bets in now that you guys gave me all the plays for the week. CJ, let everybody know where they can find you. Anything else you got going on?
Not a whole lot, man. Just busy with the family, busy at work right now. So it's cool to chat with you guys every now and again. Hey, before we leave, I have a quick question, because I'm seeing a lot of different takes on this fight. So I know you guys are busy, you have to go, but Gall versus Diego Sanchez, what's going to happen?
Oh, you got to come to the Quan Edge for that one, buddy.
Oh, man. Okay. All right.
I will tell you exactly what I said on the Quan Edge. Right now, I have Diego Sanchez in my cash lineup, and I think that Diego Sanchez is going to be able to put Mickey Gall on his back, very similar to what he did last time out against who was it?
Craig White is so bad, though. God,
how good is Mickey Gall? Are you that convinced that Mickey Gall is that good? Now,
I think Mickey Gall is very good jits, and I think his win against Sage Northcutt now looks pretty damn good.
What did Mickey Gall do on his back against Randy Brown?
Yeah, I know. I was looking at that fight, but Diego Sanchez, I mean, God, the guy is he's got like 40 professional fights, probably has CTE. I mean, Diego Sanchez, I mean, those knockouts that he absorbed against Iaquinta and Matt Brown were just brutal. Like, how much does that guy have left? I don't know. He's been training with Joe Schilling out in California. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are on Diego, so that makes me like Mickey Gall a little bit. I don't know. I think Mickey Gall was minus 145 in the distance. I don't know. How much does Diego really have left? It's a great story. The guy's a fucking warrior, but I don't know. I think I like Mickey Gall in this fight.
And with Diego, you're going to get 15 minutes.
That's true. Yeah.
Push forward, try to go for takedowns. What is Mickey Gall going to do? He's going to try to go for the same takedown. So if Diego just ends up on top, I'm just saying, what I saw with Mickey Gall and Randy Brown is Mickey Gall was not very effective on his back with his submission game. He's very effective on top. He's also very effective against guys like CM Punk.
Diego doesn't have good takedown defense, though. Diego's takedown defense is 50%, though.
And Mike Jackson actually sat across from me in at Madison Square Garden for that card when I covered it for MMA India. Real cool guy, but yeah, I mean, come on.
So I actually think that this fight could play out where Diego wants to keep it standing and not even mess around with Gall's submissions. And I think that if that happens, it's kind of gonna be how telling Gall's new training with Joe Schilling and Dan Thomas is, because how much can he actually learn in that time period? Can he deal with somebody like Diego? I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's one that I'm going to stay away from betting wise personally, but I think it's just going to tell us where Gall is in his career and what to expect.
Yeah, I'm not betting it either, but I do have Diego in my cash lineup right now. But again, I want to play some high price guys like John Jones, so that's why. But CG, the other thing we kind of stumbled on also before, if Din Thomas is going to be working out with Tyron Woodley, and in addition to that, if Mickey Gall is in that camp, Mickey Gall could be in camp with Tyron.
Yeah. So
it could be a pretty decent camp with some pretty good sparring partners there for this fight. So. Say I don't know, but in DraftKings it's a play. Outside of DraftKings, I'm not touching that.
Okay.
Anything else? But any CG, anything else where people can find you? Is your Twitter account still private?
I don't think so. Yeah, I didn't even know it was private for the longest time
for a while. Yeah, I don't know if it is.
Yeah. So
no, he just blocked you.
Oh, is that what it is? That's why
that would happen. Yeah. So no, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty low key, just like chatting fights every now and again. But once life starts to slow down a little bit with these fucking kids, then start getting more active. Start putting the work in.
Call your own kids these fucking kids.
I love my kids. I love my kids, but right now it's just it's crazy. So
all right, so I'm out of whiskey. I got a little bit there. I'm just about out of whiskey. CG's got to go back to his fucking kids, and Tyler's got him get himself ready for Vegas. So that's it for Brews and Bets, guys. Thanks for coming on, and we'll see you guys next week.